In this last segment, we're going to be talking about nutrition and hypertension and cancer. So hypertension is one of the most prevalent forms of cardiovascular disease, but it's a very silent disease. There are rarely any signs or symptoms, and it can worsen atherosclerosis, as we previously mentioned. It also makes heart attack and stroke more likely. So it's very important to know your blood pressure. And there are two numbers to be aware of. We have our systolic blood pressure and our diastolic blood pressure. So systolic blood pressure is going to be the top number that you hear. And this is the pressure during ventricular contraction. We want this number to be less than 120 millimeters of mercury. Diastolic blood pressure is going to be our bottom number, and this is the pressure that's exerted during the relaxation phase of the heart muscle. And this number, we want it to be less than 80 millimeters of mercury. For someone that has pre-hypertension, this increases the risk that they're actually going to become hypertensive at some point in the future. And pre-hypertension is defined as having a blood pressure of up to 139 millimeters of mercury over up to 89 millimeters of mercury. So it's very important. If you don't know your blood pressure, go get it checked out. You can do this at the doctor. You can buy your own machine, even at CVS, Walgreens, Target, Walmart, wherever. It's usually a blood pressure machine there that you can get a reading on. So definitely get that checked out. Why is blood pressure so important? Well, it's really vital to life. Blood pressure is important to help cells receive a constant supply of nutrients and oxygen and then allow them to release waste. Cardiac output, which is the volume of blood that's discharged by the heart each minute, goes up when heart rate or blood volume increases. And then peripheral resistance, which is what involves the carrying of blood to different tissues, goes up when arteries are narrowed. So we don't want to have high peripheral resistance. So peripheral resistance would go up during atherosclerosis, for example, when we have that plaque and our arteries are narrowed and we can't get as much blood through. This causes increased blood pressure. Blood pressure is also regulated by the nervous system through heart muscle contractions, other hormone signals, and then the kidney, which is also related to many hormones that are going to help regulate blood pressure. So some hypertension risk factors. Again, many of these are modifiable and some of them we can't do anything about. But risk of hypertension increases with age. About 2/3 of adults over the age of 65 have high blood pressure. So it's pretty prevalent in the United States. Genetics also increases the risk of hypertension. So hypertension runs in families and it's more prevalent in African Americans. Obesity, like everything else, obesity increases the risk for hypertension. High salt intake increases the risk, so as salt intake increases, the risk of blood pressure also tends to increase. Consuming greater than 2 drinks a day of alcohol increases the risk of hypertension, and then other dietary factors related to potassium, calcium, and magnesium can help to reduce blood pressure as well. So another thing up here with obesity that I wanted to mention is that around 60% of people that have high blood pressure have obesity, so those two are clearly related. So how do we manage hypertension? So here are some recommendations for reducing hypertension. We briefly talked about the DASH diet, or the dietary approaches to stop hypertension in the past. This diet focuses on fruits, vegetables, whole grains, low-fat, fat-free dairy, legumes, and it really focuses, and it includes these vitamins and minerals that are good for heart health and decreasing hypertension. So calcium, potassium, magnesium, and vitamin C. And we'll talk more about the DASH diet in a couple of slides. Can also maintain a healthy body weight to help reduce the risk for hypertension, or if you even have hypertension, losing a little bit of weight can help to reduce hypertension as well. Participating in adequate physical activity, meeting physical activity recommendations, keeping sodium intake to less than 2,300 milligrams per day, which we talked about is the recommended intake, and then moderate alcohol consumption. So alcohol initially helps to relax arteries, which can help to decrease blood pressure. So moderate alcohol consumption is actually beneficial for hypertension. However, higher doses of alcohol consumption are related to increased blood pressure. So it's really that moderate word that is key. Let's talk a little bit more about the DASH diet. So again, the DASH diet is going to emphasize a variety of fruits, vegetables, nuts, whole grains, and low-fat dairy. It emphasizes more fish, nuts, and poultry in place of red meats. Again, it ensures adequate intakes of calcium, potassium, and magnesium, as well as vitamin C from our fruits and vegetables. and it incorporates more fiber, which can help to decrease cholesterol, and protein for added health benefits. So DASH diet has been shown to help to reduce blood pressure without reducing sodium intake. But if someone were to follow the DASH diet and further decrease sodium intake, this can have even more beneficial effects. So really, as we've talked about before, salt or excess sodium intake does play a role in blood pressure, high blood pressure, but the other problem is we're not consuming enough potassium. So the DASH diet doesn't say anything about reducing sodium intake, but it really focuses on increasing potassium intake as well. All right, so moving on to nutrition and cancer. Cancer is the second leading cause of death, and of course there are a whole lot of different types of cancer. And it's really debatable whether cancer is preventable, and this is because it depends on the type of cancer. There are many risk factors for nutrition or for cancer. Few cancers are caused primarily by genetic influence, so unlike things like heart disease or hypertension having a high genetic component, cancer does not usually have this high genetic component. It can, but it's not as common. The major risk factors for cancer are lifestyle factors and environmental exposures. Related to lifestyle factors are going to be diet, and 30 to 40% of all cancers are influenced by diet. So this is quite a big, large number. So different foods and food components can cause cancer, they can promote cancer, or they can protect against cancer. So diets that have a larger emphasis on fat, meat, alcohol, and then excess calories, and those that minimize intake of fruits and vegetables tend to promote cancer, whereas diets that are higher in fruits and vegetables and maybe focus more on lean meats would be protective against cancer. And then those that could protect even further with the fruits and vegetables would be, those that are high in antioxidants. So diet cannot completely prevent cancer. We're not even sure if cancer is completely preventable, but it definitely doesn't hurt anything. How does cancer develop? So we'll go through on the next slide. I'll show you an image of how cancer develops, but this is basically word form of cancer development. So cancer is going to arise in genes when DNA is going to be damaged by carcinogens. And these carcinogens can be anything from a free radical, which we talked about are normal things in the body, but it's when we have too many of them. This is why antioxidant intake is important, radiation, or other environmental factors. So when the body is exposed to this carcinogen, there's cellular repair or self-destruction that's going on. So this damage is occurring daily. It's a normal part of our daily lifestyles, and most of it was repaired. But eventually the cell may lose its ability to self-destruct, and then it's going to replicate uncontrollably, and this can cause the development of a tumor. Tumors can become life-threatening if they overtake healthy organs, or the tumor cells are disseminated through the bloodstream to other parts of the body. So this is where cancer gets pretty messy and can become life-threatening. So now let's look at this picture of how cancer develops. So we can see here that cancer is developing through the following steps. So first, the body or the cells are exposed to some carcinogen. Again, this could be a free radical, radiation, it could be smoke, whatever. But it's exposed to the carcinogen. Then the carcinogen is going to enter into the cell. This initiation of cancer as the carcinogen damages or changes the cell's genetic materials. Then this is going to cause acceleration by the promoter. So here's our promotion going on. And this is going to stimulate cancer growth so that cells multiply out of control. So we can see here that we're starting to multiply out of control. And eventually this is going to form a tumor. Then these cancer cells are going to spread, or what we call metastasize, which just means spread, via the bloodstream. So here we can see some of our infected cells are being distributed via the bloodstream or the lymph, and then this can cause disruption of many bodily functions. So by overtaking different organs, or just being in the blood and causing damage that way. So what are some factors that influence cancer risk? Total energy intake is one such factor that can increase cancer risk. And it really, the research is mixed on, is the evidence true in humans? So in animals, decreased calorie intake has been associated with a decreased risk of cancer or a decreased cancer rate. But the evidence in humans is limited. And this is really true for cancer prevention only. So once cancer has started, you can't cut calories and then hope to prevent cancer progression any further. So it's really important to basically maintain energy balance over time, maintain body weight with the number of calories that you need. Obesity, as we've talked about, is a risk factor for many other chronic diseases. But related to obesity and cancer risk, it really depends on the site. So some sites are more related to obesity than others. So colon cancer, breast cancer, endometrial cancer, kidney cancer, esophageal cancer, ovarian cancer, and prostate cancer are all related to obesity. Physical activity could be related to colon and breast cancer, but physical activity is also important to help maintain healthy body weight and then in turn help to prevent some of these cancers as well. And then as we talked about before, alcohol, can be both good and bad, but alcohol consumption, especially excess alcohol consumption, increases the risk of cancers of the head and neck. Now, other dietary factors specifically that can influence cancer risk. So fat and fatty acids, as we talked about, the type of fat is important. So, we want to decrease saturated and trans fats, focus on our healthy fatty acids, specifically monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats. Red meats may be related to increased cancer risk. Processed meats may have additives or possible carcinogens. Smoked meats can have carcinogens in them. So it's okay to eat these foods, but moderation is very important. Fiber-rich foods are important. They can help to decrease colon cancer by removing carcinogens. So remember, fiber helps to get rid of waste or toxins in our intestines. So fiber-rich foods are definitely important. Folate and antioxidant vitamins can help to protect against oxidation, so those free radicals going on that we might be exposed to. There's some research saying that calcium and vitamin D, meeting recommendations, can help to prevent cancer, but there are other health benefits as well, and the research related to cancer is still mixed, but there are definitely health benefits, obviously, as we've talked about, related to calcium and vitamin D intake. Excess iron intake can be linked to colon cancer due to oxidation and damage to cells if there's too much iron consumed. And then certain foods and phytochemicals, so phytochemicals might be found in things like fruits and vegetables. This can help to decrease cancer risk as well. So from everything that you've learned this week, hopefully by now you know that proper nutrition can help shield against diseases. So I think this picture is really cute, that it talks about all these different dietary or proper nutrition guidelines, recommendations, and how this can help protect against various chronic diseases. So I hope you learned something this week, and we'll see you back here for Chapter 12.